Hello and welcome to Our Time. Thank you for joining us. And is there a problem, Malcolm? Anyway, on the program today, we have some wonderful guests. Kimberly's with us. Actually, she's one of our regulars, and Sue will be talking to Kimberly. Malcolm.
Well, I just thought...
down the back of my neck.
Sorry. I just thought, you can open up now, you can pan this way. Anytime you're ready. This way. Thank you. It's amazing. Whenever we watch all these political broadcasts, we're being inundated with all the American stuff at the moment.
Oh, we are.
And the Australian stuff at the moment. And every time you see a politician talking, there's somebody standing behind them that looks like they've lost their mind, nodding or looking aimlessly because they've heard the story behind. It's got to stop. That's our message to all the politicians. Just talk to us.
I don't think it's going to get through to them somehow.
Probably not. But it does look silly, doesn't it?
Well, it does. It's very annoying.
Now, what would you do if you had an emergency and needed some assistance?
Pick up the phone and dial. Emergency.
We're going to find out today what government departments can do to help you in case of an emergency.
Right.
And we have a very special guest who wouldn't be here tonight or today if it wasn't for the fact that his father was in the Second World War. And welcome to the program, Keith. This is Keith Britney.
Thanks, Malcolm, and thanks, Janice.
Thank you for coming.
Lovely to have you. And that's the truth, isn't it? You wouldn't be here if it wasn't for your father being in the Second World War.
Well, did he live through it? I mean, he nearly got his head chopped off once, and in Singapore. He fought in France and Belgium.
Well, go back to the beginning. First of all, where did he come from?
He came from England, went over to France and Belgium, and was lucky enough to escape from Dunkirk, so that's another reason I'm lucky to be here. Was re-mobbed then to North Malaya and was fighting with the Japanese and slowly got forced down to the south.
So he came from a very cold climate during the war.
Definitely, yep.
And then he ended up in Singapore, which is...
very hot.
Very hot, very humid, very muddy, rains most afternoons. And
3 o'clock.
Yes.
Set your watch on it.
They got little bugs that they never heard of before in England and France, so they were really learning on their feet, so to speak. Dad used to fire the gun once under a big tree for shade, but these big red ants fell on them. They had no tops on, and it took them a week to heal from these red ants.
Yeah, frightening, isn't
Okay.
it?
Yeah.
But while he was back home in the UK, you were telling me before, he used to go down to the local theatre.
That's right. When he was young, he used to go to the theatre and do caricatures of the children there and just give them out to them. He was a natural artist. And I'm amazed at some of the artwork he did to survive.
And really, this is what the story is about. It's about the fact that your dad drew right through the Second World War as well.
He did.
And captured a lot of memories. First of all, we should have a look at what he looks like. And this is a drawing from...
Ronald Searle, an official war artist. So that's
your
Dad.
Father?
Yep, and I think after the war, or during the war, he was told by several people because of his skill, don't go back to the mills as an industrial chemist. You've got a talent. Go to art school, which he did do. He went to Leeds Art School straight after the war. Soon after that, he was teaching in South Shields, where I was born. And in 1958, we all immigrated as a family to Australia, to Whyalla.
But the reason we're talking to you is because you're actually going to show us some of his work, which, because he passed away recently.
Yeah, 2000.
So he had all this work. You knew that he had all this work, but now we're able to see it.
We didn't know he had so much. We started to scan the stuff and we got up to 45 and we thought, crikey, what else did he do? So
this is what he did.
Well, that's the coat of arms he painted about Changi. So up the top you can see the samurai sword, the hat, the Changi chariot just underneath there, the Aussie soldier. To the left of the Aussie soldier, the Changi airport. To the right, there's a Thai Burma railway. By his feet, there's a Changi jail. Underneath, there's a ship. And on the left, there's a Sydney Harbour Bridge. On the right, there's a White Cliffs of Dover, and there's a whole heap of stuff in there. He stacked that really well.
And this one?
Well,
that's very different.
I was a behaviour consultant, and I think Dad's thinking about his behaviours before the war and the traditions before the war. we throw rice to brides and grooms. What he was going through now, I'm starving to death, and then what he would do after the war, I won't be looking at my bride, I'll be sweeping up that precious rice.
Rice, of course, yeah.
Now this one is building of the Changi airport, which still stands today, but it was a little airstrip. They built everything.
It wasn't quite in the same place before, though.
No.
It would have been underwater, the new airport.
Yeah, they had to fill the swamp in, drain it, fill the swamp in, clear all the shrubs. But they built the airstrip convex, not concave, sorry, not convex like roads are.
Yes.
Because they knew it rains every day, and so a lot of the aeroplanes just aquaplaned off into the jungle and crashed.
Oh, really?
Okay, and this is just another.
This is more of his fine art.
This is Dad is 22, just painting all sorts of things he came across. And one of his mates there, he wasn't a trained artist. He was just doing it
Is that
to keep sane.
is that a crayon or watercolour?
That's watercolour.
Yeah, very nice. Let's have a look at some more of the cartoons.
This is going to work. You'll see they've all got safety boots on. He painted the opposite to his reality, to keep sane and to be resilient. So they're all happily going to work. Now, they weren't provided any clothing, so in the end they just had like G-strings, but this guy, his wife saying, Changi, you're not coming out with me like that. So there's Dad thinking of the future as a prisoner, and he had the freedom to do that in his artwork.
They were the clothes he was so comfortable in that humid
and
weather.
they're clean.
Conditions, yeah.
Over the wall,
I think a picture says 1,000 words. That's the Changi jail where Dad spent 2.5 years, and there's a prisoner kicking out the Japanese guard. Yeah.
Amazing. The colours are amazing though too.
Yeah. Changi was designed after Alcatraz, and I don't know if Dad knew that, but that's pretty telling. That is Changi Jail. That's on the left A block and on right B block.
Yeah.
In the red writing, which you can't really read, it says under completely new management. So he had a good sense of humour, and he gave a lot of his artwork away. Since the website's been up, we've had over 70 images copied and emailed back to us. We don't want the originals. People have just taken the time to see Bettany. They've Googled Bettany and they found the website and they've said, would you like a copy? I said, yes, please. We don't want the original.
And it's worth having a look on your website too. And here's the address for your website. But it's interesting because there's just such a lot of the pictures there.
400, yeah.
When you take the time to actually have a look at what he's written and the gag that's there, some of them you've really got to think 2 or 3 times about and try and understand the conditions of the time. But it's so great to look back on that.
Keith, how did you keep them though? How were they kept to stay the colours that they have? Because
they were just in his cupboard for, like a dark cupboard for 70 years and inside a book that he glued in there, unfortunately. But but we're able to scan all those images digitally, and so they've got more than one copy now because that is the original and it's kept not in a cupboard anymore but in a safe.
How wise. And the people of Singapore actually got you to go over on the anniversary, didn't they, earlier this year?
It was 4 years ago.
Sorry, the anniversary was earlier this year. You went...
for the 70th anniversary of the fall of Singapore, the Singapore government asked me to come over. We've seen your art, your dad's artwork, could you speak to a number of groups, which I did do.
Fantastic.
On that occasion. It was fabulous.
It
was very moving.
I bet it was.
And we found some more...
This wasn't public before, that people didn't know more about this before.
It was in the cupboard for 70 years.
Yeah, did he just want to forget about it, do you think?
No, even in Dad's art studio, when he passed away, we found a stack of canvases about that thick, not in frames, just canvas. There was a couple of hundred.
Finished work or work?
Finished, all finished.
Finished.
So Dad painted for the love of painting. He never sold anything. He gave a lot of his works away. My wife said, you can bring one home. Because our walls are covered with his artwork.
Oh, really? Oh, well, it's wonderful.
He's a very prolific artist.
That truly is just lovely. But
story.
Because of meeting the Australians over there, that's why you came to Whyalla. That's the reasoning behind it?
Yes, in 1958 we came to Australia, and I'm pretty sure because of Dad's engagement with the Aussies, their sense of humour that he would have seen, the tall stories they would have told about, you know, the white sands, the blue seas, the blue skies. Yeah, come on over. Yeah, don't put up with the politics that you're putting up with now. Come on over. It's a bit more relaxed, mate.
Mate, yes, mate.
What's that?
Come on home,
what was that
mate.
movie? Oranges and Sunshine.
Orange and Sunshine, yes.
Yes.
There was a movie that they made about the young children who
From
were brought
England
over
that were
here
brought
who
over.
had lost their parents.
Okay.
Well, some of them hadn't.
But that's right. No, they
So it's
lost their
another
parents
story.
because they were left at home.
That's right.
Keith, so apart from seeing this on the website, are there any exhibitions or anything planned?
We've got some artwork that's ready to go. So if people want to have an exhibition, all they have to do is contact me through the website, email me.
I think you
and we
should
can
talk
organise
to
things.
the art galleries around Australia. I think this is part of our history that's really well worth people seeing.
Yeah, well, the website's had over about 1 million hits now.
Right.
So a lot more
It's
people
nothing
have
like
gone in
seeing
there.
the real thing, though, is it?
Exactly, yeah. But we wouldn't put the real stuff up. It'd just be copies of the real stuff because the real stuff is getting fragile. It's 74 years old now, and it's been through
But
humid
some of the
weather.
galleries can help you preserve that in other ways, so
Yep,
it might
yep.
be worth talking to somebody. Keith, it's been lovely to meet you. Thank you for sharing your dad with us, because
Yeah.
that's
Thanks,
really what
Malcolm.
it is.
Lovely story.
Yeah, great.
it's
And what a
Thanks,
great
Janice.
history to have.
Yeah, I'm pretty proud of him.
Oh, I bet
I'm a hopeless artist. My brother's an architect. My sister's a high school art teacher, and I work with people, which I enjoy.
Yes.
But my art is terrible. I've got my mother's genes. The other two have got dad's
Well,
genes.
Your
He
father
was
really
down.
worked with people too, when you think about
Oh,
it.
he did. He kept people alive by doing his
Exactly.
artwork.
Now, we'll be back very soon on our time, because after this,
Yes.
we have some information about what to do in the case of an emergency from government assistance. So stay with us on our time. Thanks, Keith.
Thank you.
Thank you, Malcolm. Thank you, Janice. Pleasure being here.
Hello, I'm Peter Sellen. Thanks for watching Our Time. Hope you're enjoying the program. Most of us would probably in our lifetimes never be caught up in a disaster or an emergency or something awful that's happened to you, like a storm, a cyclone, fires, all that sort of thing. And a lot of people, perhaps in that situation, are at a loss to know what to do. Well, the government is here to help, and in this case, they really do. I've got with me Leanne Fenton from the Human Services Department. Hello, Leanne. Welcome
Hi,
to you.
thank you.
Now, can you describe your role in the department and how it affects people who might be affected by some of this stuff?
Sure. My role as a social worker in the Department of Human Services is to provide short-term crisis intervention for people with presenting with complex needs, also professional assessments and interventions for in relation to income support entitlements and customer safety and wellbeing.
Okay, so what's been your experience in emergency situations? You've had to deal with some pretty major things. Tell us about a couple.
Yeah, so I recently actually worked on the Mobile Service Centre, and we were based in Balaclava and Hamley Bridge after the Pinery fires. I have also worked in the Relief Centre after the Samson Flat fires.
So what was it like and how do you go about helping people when you... Oh, there's your mobile, we're just having a look there, your mobile information centre. Tell us a bit about that before.
That's the Mobile Service Centre. So basically there's an office inside. We're able to see customers process their claims, and it travels around regional Australia.
Okay, so how physically do you help people now? What do they have to do?
Okay, in terms of
Well,
after a
rebuilding their lives and their
disaster.
property, whatever.
Yeah. So the Department of Human Services operates within the Australian Government crisis management arrangement. We work in collaboration with other government agencies and also non-government agencies.
Often you get the ADF and people like that, I guess, coming in as well to help if it's a major disaster too. Sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if the government announces a payment, people may be entitled to the disaster recovery payment, which is a one-off payment of $1,000 per person, per adult, and $400 per child. That may be for someone whose house sustained major damage, they may have sustained an injury as a result of the disaster, or they may have lost a loved one. There may also be the disaster recovery allowance, which is a short-term payment over 13 weeks for people who may have been an employee who has lost some work because of the disaster.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you actually go to, I assume you obviously go to these places. What's that like? I mean, obviously it's a fairly shocking sight in most cases.
Yeah, it's very shocking. Especially the Pinery fire. You know, the fire spread so far, so quickly, damaged so many buildings. So it was really quite shocking to see that, and made me really think about that it would have been really scary for those people living in the communities. But you also get to see the community strength and their resilience in working together in terms of the recovery process.
So I guess, I mean, they're all in shock, I guess, and you really have to have the expertise to handle that in a sensible and manner and get them to think, well, you're not alone.
Yeah, that's right. So as a social worker, I spent a lot of time providing counselling to those that were emotionally distressed. And I also spent a great deal of time talking about common emotional responses to a disaster, because that helps in the recovery process.
Mm-hmm. What are the questions people generally ask you? I mean, obviously they're not thinking straight in many circumstances if they've lost a family member or their property, and whatever, their pets or anything. What are the questions most people want to know?
Yeah, generally they don't know what's available, so it's about educating them if there's payments available and other services.
So you mentioned some of the things. Just to reiterate, what does the government give them, and is there a time factor? You mentioned 13 weeks. Is that the standard waiting period?
That's for the disaster. No, that's not a waiting period. They can get paid for the disaster recovery allowance. They can be paid over 13 weeks.
I see.
That's for someone who has, you know, they were employed, they were a sole trader, and
So it gives them money
they've
to pay
lost
the
work
bills.
because of that, and it's equivalent to either New Start allowance or youth allowance, depending on their age. The disaster recovery payment is the other payment that people could be entitled to as well, the one-off payment of $1,000.
Okay, well that helps them obviously with the major bills and putting food on the table in the interim, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So in the event of an emergency like a bushfire, flood or cyclone, what does the Department of Human Services offer people apart from the immediate monetary thing? You get the counselling and all sorts of other things.
Yeah, so the Department of Human Services delivers payments and services on behalf of the Australian Government. We also work in collaboration with the state government, local governments and non-government agencies. So we can also, we'll assess whether they're entitled to a payment and then provide the social work service regardless of whether someone's entitled to a payment or not.
I was going to say, how do you work out who are the genuine people? I mean, somebody says, oh, my dog died or the horse was over here, and you go, oh. How do you get their bona fides? How do you work out that they are who they say they are, and what's happened has actually happened?
Yeah, so people have to, generally when someone claims for a payment, they have to provide some proof of identification, such as a driver's licence, birth certificate, depends what they provided to us in the past. They also may need to provide some evidence that their property's been damaged or it's structurally unsound, or a hospital admission if they were injured.
So you've got a multi-role job, really. I mean, you've got to sort of tell people what you're offering, as well as making sure that they're not going off the deep end, basically, and looking after them.
Yeah.
Do they get confused about what are available, what's available for them? Sometimes people, obviously, they've just had this terrible trauma, and you're there to help.
Yeah, and there can be some confusion about what different government departments offer. So as I've said before, if it's announced, we can offer if the government announces that, we offer the disaster recovery payment and allowance. We can also provide, it's a picture of us working in the community.
Yes.
We can also provide them information about what other government agencies offer too, so we can ensure that they're well supported.
Because we often see after fires or whatever that people have nowhere to live. I mean, you physically have to have somewhere for people to stay. How does all that work? Does it relatives step in, or do you step in?
Oh, well, yes.
Both.
Families do come together, but definitely that's when we would look at what other government agencies are providing. Is there something that the state government's providing? That's where the relief centres come in, because that's where there's all the agencies working together to support those people who are being impacted.
So eligibility are based on, obviously, things you can see, that they've lost property or that somebody's lives have been lost, that sort of thing. So is it hard to work out who's eligible and who isn't?
Really depends on their situation and the evidence that they need to, depending on, it really depends on
well, obviously you can see the house is gone and that sort of thing, and
Yeah.
you know that they used to live there. So does it affect you when you go out to do this sort of work a bit? Or, I mean, you've obviously a social worker, you're involved in all of that stuff from the start.
Yeah, you can feel emotional at times. Yeah, but it is still a privilege to get to work with these people.
So how do people lodge claims, just in finishing up, how do people, once they've sorted out and actually physically contacted you, how do they lodge the claim?
Yeah, so, I mean, if people have access to the internet after an emergency, I recommend that they go to www.humanservices.gov.au because there'll be information on there in terms of what payments may be available and how people can claim. Generally, they can claim on the phone, in person, or we might be out on the mobile service centre in the communities and people can come visit us then.
The main thing, Leanne, is that they're not alone, people who are affected physically and, as I said, lost loved ones, property, all that sort of thing. And you guys are actually, I know it's a cliche, but you do help people in a big way.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for coming in, Leanne. It's been fantastic talking to you, and hopefully I know a bit more about what to do if something ever happens to me. Hopefully we'll contact you. Next up on Our Time, we've got Sue, and she's talking with Kimberly Douglas. Stay tuned.
I have Kimberly Douglas here with me today to talk about nutrition and a disorder that I've never heard of, Kimberly, pyrrole disorder.
You said it the right way. Excellent.
Pyrrole disorder, tell me about this.
Okay, so its other name is pyluria. Now, this is one of the latest things in mental health right now. Now, pyrrole disorder means when you go to make hemoglobin on red blood cells, we all give off something called a cryptopyrrole, or we nickname them pyrroles.
Okay.
Now, these are useless little byproducts. It's like breathing in oxygen and giving off carbon dioxide.
Right.
They don't really do anything, and we weed them out. For people with pyrrole disorder, they don't weed them out. What they do is these cryptopyrroles or pyrroles build up in your blood. Now, what they do is they work like a little magnet, and what they do is they attract and bind to zinc, B6 and magnesium and render it useless. Now, zinc and B6 and magnesium are absolutely essential for our mental health, for controlling all our cognitive functioning,
Yes.
our brain, our memory, our emotions,
Yes.
our immune system. So what happens is people can go years and years suffering from this genetic blood disorder and just never getting a breakthrough.
And suffering from lots of depression?
Lots of, yes, so in particular anxiety,
yeah.
panic, depression, poor thought processes,
Yes.
really inability to cope with stress.
Yes.
It seems that the more stressed you are, the more of these pyrroles that you manufacture.
Okay.
And so it's really important for anyone who's been on antidepressants, anyone who suffers particularly for things like feelings of impending doom, anxiety, panic.
I think we've all had that sort of sensation over
Sure,
the years.
but some people live in that. Some
Yes,
people live
live
that
in
there's
that
going
sort
to be an earthquake, there's going to be a disaster, there's
Okay.
going to be a tsunami, they have panic, anxiety. Now,
So how can this be diagnosed?
so it's a simple urine test. It's very easy, and you need to have a prescribed for you, or recommended for you. It's a urine test, and they measure how many unit pyrroles are being eliminated in your urine, and you mustn't have any more than 10 units. And we see people who are even high level schizophrenia, bipolar, multi-personality disorder registering in the hundreds. We're seeing people who have really bad mental illness registering, 60, 70, 80s. And interesting, particularly if anyone's watching who's got autistic kids or Asperger's spectrum anywhere, we're finding high levels of pyrrole disorder.
Wow.
So
So this can be treated?
easily,
Right.
but you need to have properly prescribed formulas which have been bound a particular way. So when they go from your gut to your blood, they avoid the gene and actually absorb properly to your cells, and you can be symptom-free and just free from all these horrible symptoms.
So, and this is magnesium, zinc, and
B6.
And B6. So the pyrroles are stopping them from being
Correct.
utilised properly by the body.
So I kind of, remember what a Pac-Man is, those
Yes,
old Pac-Man
yes,
games?
yes,
So
goes
what
along,
pyrroles
yeah.
do is they bind to those
Okay,
things and
yeah.
render it useless.
Yeah.
And if you're not getting those, your brain, your immune system
It's
can't
being
function
starved,
properly.
exactly.
So when people find out, they get a proper diagnosis,
Yeah.
they get a proper treatment program,
Yeah.
and they're happy.
They're wonderful. That sounds good. And it's okay for children, little ones.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Kimberly, thank you. Fascinating. Back to you now, Malcolm and Janice.
There you go.
More information than one whole brain could take in one whole program.
Kimberly is like that. She's just, I don't know how
Full
she
of it, I'd say.
keeps it in her
Full
head.
of it. Thank you very much for joining us once again on this episode. Now, if you'd like to know more about Our Time, what do you do, Janice?
You can find us on Facebook for a start.
Yes.
And email address.
Yes,
Do you have that?
yes.
We will show you.
If you have a suggestion as to somebody you'd like on the program, like coming up in our next program, we have a very special guest coming back who made a huge impression last year. Rodney Fox.
Yes.
And we're going to talk to him about sharks and why they should be sort of left alone.
That's right.
Oh, and
Look
lots of
forward to
other
that
stuff
one.
as well.
Absolutely.
Next time on Our Time, so make sure you tune in then.
Take care.
See you then and keep yourself nice till we see you next time. Bye.